Ward. I am the Senior Director of Video Production
Got it.
and Digital Media at
Oh,
Shout Factory.
excuse me.
Produce the Digimon Adventure Tri movies on Blu-ray and DVD. Joining us this year, we're going to have an amazing panel because last year, if you were here, was anyone here for this panel last year? It's all going to be the same questions, same answers. It's not, I promise. It's going to be a little bit, we're going to sort of carry on from where we were last year. Joining us, we have your voice of Sora, Ms. Paulina Johnson. And of course, your voice of Ty. How do you follow that one up, man? We have we've got the English ADR voice director, Mr. Ryan Johnston. And then your voice of TK, Mr. Johnny Yong Bosch. Has been advertised as a so you want to be a voice actor sort of panel. I want to know, just as a show of hands, how many of people in this room want to be a voice actor? This is half the battle right here. It's just showing up. Why do you guys want to be a voice actor? Someone who had their hand up, put it in the back, sir. Why, or ma'am, I'm sorry, it's very dark. Then say, Your Highness. Exactly. Sorry, why do you want to be a voice actor? That's a great,
Yeah!
Yes, sir.
Is that Dana?
We'll wait for you out there.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Why did you guys want to be voice actors? Like, what was that reason that was boiling up in you when you decided this is the career?
For me, I have a musical theater background, but before that, all I did was give voices to babies who couldn't talk yet, or animals, and a light bulb completely. Like I watched Wonderful World of Disney and The Muppet Show and every cartoon known to man, and it didn't occur to me that that was somebody's job. And I was at the University of Michigan doing musical theater, and a teacher overheard me say something, and she's like, "Was that you?" And I'm like, sorry, I just kind of about it. And she said, "No, you need to do voiceovers," and I was like, "Whoa, that's what I want to do," because I was, and so as soon as she said that, and I realized, wait a minute, I could do the Little Mermaid. That was it for me. That's all I wanted to do. I can sing. I can talk and stuff. So that was it. And then I moved to LA, and here I am at Anime Expo.
Yeah!
That's interesting. I also have a musical theater background, 8 shows a week from the time I was like 8 to 18.
We're gonna do jazz hands a lot.
Yeah!
So, and as a kid, I was always making, funny, silly voices just to kind of be annoying, and just because that's how we were talking about express yourself, I was very auditory and express myself that way. Also, I kind of had hippie parents, and we didn't have TV in the house. So, but I had these like cassette tapes of old-timey radio broadcasts. And so I had all these voices, like the Ovaltine hour and stuff going in my head. Kid should not have known. Then, fast forward a little, when I was in like high school, my father was a radio psychologist, and so sometimes I'd go like you go with your kid to where your parents work, and he was building his practice like Fraser, on the radio. And so the radio studio became a very familiar, comfortable work environment to me. Fast forward again, I went to Tisch School of the Arts at NYU in Manhattan, New York. And that, coming from a small town in the Midwest, was pretty overwhelming. But there was a radio station, so it felt comfortable and familiar to me. So I had my own radio show there, and then when I graduated, I had a demo and a way in. That's how it happened.
So then just for a quick, all those people that raised their hands, how many of you also have musical theater backgrounds? It dwindled a little bit. Sorry, everyone.
Kind
you
of.
guys, you're all still in the running.
Yeah.
Unless Johnny's got a different story.
My story is different.
You're all back in the running.
I was shy. I got picked on a lot. I got beat up a lot. I was kidnapped, and so it made me very reserved. Like all of my emotions were just tucked in growing up. And when I was in high school, I was a part of this. It was like a speech class, and we did like some plays within the class, and I got to act out as I was so scared. I didn't want to do it, but they forced me to kind of be the superhero of this thing and then do these other things. But as I started to do that and express myself, some of those inner, like, you know, dreams or passions, then it opened up this thing for me. You know, it was like therapy. And so I just had that desire to continue to do that, you know, explore these branches of emotion, you know, and play out all this stuff in my life, you know, or be able to play out these other characters in their lives. It's just, you know, good therapy, and it just became super fun for me. And that's, for me, that's, I just got stuck to it, and I'm drawn to it.
So how many of you were kidnapped?
Actually, it's taken a long time for me to even talk about that stuff, but in the last few years, I feel comfortable about that.
Yeah.
That's good, Ryan. How do you follow that?
I'll see myself out.
Well, and I'm wondering if you don't necessarily want to be a voice actor, but how many people have ever thought about voice directing? Okay, so we've got some of your people in here as well. I would like to know, were you a gearhead, a tech head who was just like, I love engineering and this is sort of what I want to do?
Sure. Well, you know, I got into the whole world of animation really a roundabout path from started at just being a music guy. I used to write songs and started singing a lot of bands. I was usually kind of the front man. And then when it came time to go to college, I was like, well, audio was cool. I guess I'll study that. And I really took a liking to it. And ran a little studio of my own up in Washington State for a little while, and then found my way down to LA, and ultimately found a job at a company called Studiopolis, where we produced these fine films.
Yeah.
And just worked my way up and shadowed worked with and shadowed a couple of just really amazing voice directors for a long time. I was kind of the right-hand man to a wonderful director named Mary Elizabeth McGlynn.
Yeah.
And watching her by osmosis, just absorbing some really, really neat storytelling techniques. And then when the time came, they sort of moved me into the next chair, and now I get to work with these talented folks.
Last year we talked with Colleen, Joshua, and Jeff Newboy about reprising characters that they had played before as they came back to Digimon Adventure Tri. Johnny, though, you stepped into an iconic character of TK, having not played him before.
Correct.
I'm wondering, how much from those previous iterations did you try to bring back to the character? And conversely, what do you think you brought to the character?
Well, I looked up as much as I could find, which for some reason it was kind of hard for me to find a lot about TK. And then so I started asking people that I knew grew up on the show. And so, but a lot of the feedback is that he was, you know, a character that everyone liked, but he didn't have a whole lot. So there wasn't like, you know, a big foundation to build, you know, to go, oh, I need to carry all these things into it. You know, so it was really me just watching just where he was and his voice, but then not really needing to worry about it too much because he's older. And just trying to stay true to whatever the animation is now. And then just make that the foundation. So as long as the animation and the character was true to the story, then I think I felt okay. But I was super nervous going into it. I mean, I didn't know, I said this throughout the day, that I had no idea that these characters existed prior to that. I thought it was like different things constantly, you know? And then when I heard that people were reprising the role, I was like, wait a second, I wasn't in this, you know? Then you got the wrong guy. And then, yeah, so it was super scary for me, and I thought for sure that fans would hate me, you know? But,
No, you did good.
Been very supportive, and I appreciate that. But yeah,
What?
super scary, but it's good fun.
I think one of the really cool things about having somebody like Johnny come in and play the character that's already been established is, well, first of all, the characters are rolling. So that gives you a little bit of room to sort of play with it and mold it and make it your own while still hopefully, you know, taking into account everything that came before and really just kind of taking the spirit of what that character is and bringing them into the future. And I think that you, Johnny, and as well as, you know, our other cast members that have sort of stepped in, I think from my end have done a really, really solid job at, you know, absorbing what was there before, but also not being afraid to take some chances and really make the performance and the characters their own, which I think is what it has to be. Right?
We talked a little bit about, again, last year, we talked a little bit about acting in a new animated, for a new animated project versus moving and dubbing, and the differences between those things. Ryan, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit from the perspective of the person on the other side of the glass, your day-to-day job and how it might be different for you to make sure that the perfect dubbed episode or movie is perfect. What are you looking for? What do these guys all deliver on a daily basis for you?
What is perfect, I guess that's the nebulous thing you're sort of searching for when you're doing these sessions. I don't know that that is necessarily something we're striving for, perfection, but what I can say that if I go into a session and I do a day of dubbing, I think what counts as a success for me is, sure, did we fit into the lip flap? But less than that, I think it's did we take this character and do what the story needed us to do with it today, you know? I think it's less for me, less about making sure that the lip flap and the voice is accurate. I would much rather go for a quality performance and, you know, solid storytelling.
And for the cast members, I'm curious about that. How much does lip flap play into your performance, and how much are you more just keen to make sure that the character comes across in the best possible way that just happens to fit within the time that the mouth opens and closes?
For me, I would prefer to keep with the character and all that. And I as you do it more and more, you just get better at it. And you can tell, oh, there's a lot of movement and I got 4 words. So I better figure out how to fill that space. But, you know, so it comes down to writing. It comes down to, you know, it's experience, really. For me, I know when Digimon was my very first anime show, and so it was amazing. But I really had to learn on the job, and it's not easy. I mean, you're in there by yourself. You've got beeps in your headphones, so you get 3 beeps, and then the 4th beep is imaginary, and that's when supposedly the lips start moving, and that's when you're supposed to start talking, and fit all of this in. And it's like you know, pat your head and rub your belly. It's a lot, and I mean, I was exhausted after 2 hours of doing Digimon. I was like, oh my god, they're never gonna call me back. I don't know what I'm doing. Somebody help me. But as you do it more, I mean, now I've got X amount of years under my belt, so it's it's a lot easier. Like I can do it falling off the log. It's just not. It's not as challenging just because I know what I'm doing now. So. As long as you've got a good director and the writing is close, and then, you know, lots of times I'm like, yeah, that's not going to fit, so I'll just rewrite it as I'm going. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I would prefer to stay true to the character.
I think definitely dubbing is more technically challenging than original animation because of that. You need to fit not only the words but the emotion that you want to express in this very confined, defined space. And initially, the mechanics of that take up so much energy, but as you're saying, after a while, it becomes second nature. I think the other component I want to add to what Colleen said is if you can express an idea or a phrase in many different ways, then suddenly you can stretch something out or compress it. The example I always think of is the actor Tom Conti in an old movie called The Dresser. You know that movie? He says the word sir, just that one word, 100 different ways, you know. Sir, sir, sir. And this not just different emotions, but rhythms and paces to it as well. So you can't have. Yeah, huh is a good one. And so many times.
We say huh so many times.
Yeah.
I'm scared. What's happening?
Huh.
I've been in sessions where just will bring somebody to their knees. And it's amazing how much you, like, my running joke is if somebody really lands it's like, I feel like I just got your whole backstory.
It's kind of true. You feel really gratified if you could get something across that feels right for the music and the scene and everything, and with no words even, just a grunt. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest parts of dubbing, I think, is to not lose the character or lose the feeling of the moment, because there's no word, there's lip flap, and it's just a sound. And how do you express that? That's one of those building blocks, you know, like tempo and pace and lip flaps. And once you get that down, you know, it does become a lot more fluid.
It sort of seems like that might also be with musical theater. And Johnny, you have a band, you've got musical background and musical talent. I said it almost seems like that is where a lot of that musical element comes into is, hey, you've got to have the rhythm of the beat. But then you also have to know how to make those words flow in the time that you have. So it is a good thing to have. But
Make sure the M happens when the lips go together.
It's true, though. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I'm in a position that I get to work with a lot of very talented actors in a wide range of shows and properties. And I have found that there does seem to be a common thread in people that do have a musical background. Do you find it a little bit easier to sort of really zero in on a character's intent, even if it is just one word, because really the musicality and the delivery of one word can change the meaning of an entire scene almost. So.
That's why sometimes we'll rewrite,
Right.
you know, like a conjunction or like just like it's a tiny. There's a phrase, God is in the details.
Yeah.
It's just tiny little details, you know, that can make the difference between it's gonna like make the audience feel something, or it's gonna be kind of schmaltzy over the top.
So I'm wondering, because all of these folks, I'm sure, if given the opportunity, the moment this panel ends, they would swarm you with all kinds of questions about advice and you know, they want a personal school. Let's say security is dragging you away and you've got time for one piece of advice to give to any one of these aspiring voice actors. What would that one piece of advice be?
Learn to create characters. It's all about creating characters. It's not that it's great to have a great voice and it's great to, I do funny voices. It's not about the voice, which is a great place to start, but you got to be able to create a full, well-rounded character. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say be an interesting person. Work on yourself, because let's say you're in a conversation and nobody's listening to you. Well, why would they when you record that same voice? Like Colleen said, it's not just about the sound of your voice or the quality of your voice or your ability to, you know, read the words on the page. It's can you suck people in, make them listen to you. You know, is there some musicality to your voice?
I'd say acting over voice. There are a lot of great voices that people can make, but if there's not a compelling performance or motivation or intent behind it, then what's the point?
I don't know.
I just showed you all of those things.
Woo!
I'm sure Josh was sort of an extension of what you were just saying, not just in performance-wise, but I'm sure just being a likable person in the studio is going to get you pretty far as well. You can have all the talent, but if no one wants to work with you.
Yes. You know, there's one, I wanted to add something because it's like, I said be an interesting person, and I didn't say how to be an interesting person. A really good exercise to do, to get you to that place that very few people go to, is to just make a commitment to yourself to be as close to 100% honest and present as possible at all times. And when you start doing that, you will interact with people in a different way. And so when you see a character on the page, you'll approach it differently. You won't think of it in a calculating manner, full of technique or method or anything like that. You'll just experience it the way that you are now experiencing your life. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's very worthwhile.
What's that?
I'm sorry, but you have a microphone facing the front, though. I'm pretty sure that's the one to you back. I think you just turn it around.
Oh, we'll mute it. Is that better?
Well, we've got 60 hertz. I don't know what that is, I'm sorry.
It's like 60 hertz, that's like the lower.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is there feedback?
I don't hear it.
I think this is actually leading into my next question. Because we are going to give some of you an opportunity to audition and even read a scene with our cast.
So,
Going into an audition or into a voice job, what is your process for prepping your voice, your warm-up techniques? Is there that secret that you have?
great.
Well, for me, I'm an overthinker, so I don't. So if I'm given the script ahead of time, I read it once just to see if there's any weirdness or if there, I look at the beats. Voiceover in the word, it's voice actor. So you go back to your acting 101 things. Who am I talking to? Where have I been? Where am I going? What's happening in the scene? Those kind of things. So I look for those things and I, make little mental notes and then I put it away. Because if I read it too many times, it doesn't even sound like words anymore. For me, I'm a better cold reader than a continual reader. I don't have to comment. So for me, that's what I do. If I have the script ahead of time, if I don't, it's even better. I like to have a picture. Pictures work for me. I'm a visual person. So if I look at it, I already have something in my mind. Unless I don't know how old, then I gotta look at the notes and see, and then read everything. I know you're like, oh, my line. There's stuff in between. So read everything so that you know what's happening. That's what I do. I don't really do vocal warm-ups unless I have to sing. And I probably am supposed to, but don't tell my voice teacher that. I don't.
I always do vocal warm-ups because the sessions can last for hours. Typically, I've been doing 4-hour sessions for Digimon, and you want to start strong and end strong. So, and I can show you a couple simple ones.
Please.
I've done this since I was a kid. I do this every day while I'm driving around anyway. But part of it is to warm up your instrument, and the other reason that I do this is to get out of my head and into my body. again, I don't want to think. Acting's not about thinking. It's about being present, listening, reacting, being honest and authentic. So to the extent that we get out of our heads and into our body, it helps to facilitate that process. So I'll go on a walk beforehand. I'll do deep meditative breathing. There's something called ujjayi breathing. It's in through the nose, out of the mouth. You make a whispered ah. So it's like this. You don't push it, but what it does is it opens up your throat, and you start to breathe through your diaphragm. So that's another one is this. Get away from my microphone. Like you do trills up and down, like that. The lips, the tip of the tongue, and the teeth. Doing a bunch of these really fast, right? Elocution and such. Then there's fast, but these are just basic, right? Musical theater. All that stuff. Drive into the session or whatever. Yeah, and also the panting. Because it strengthens your diaphragmatic breathing so that you don't have to take a breath in the middle of a sentence. Also breathe in. I can go really long time that way. These are just, your voice is your instrument, so this is taking care of it, the way to warm it up and get inside of it. So it'll work. Play. Perfect.
It really just depends on what I'm doing or what kind of character, the age. If it's a younger character, I might do some humming. But mostly what I do is when I get in there, I will ask you questions. What's going on here? What's just happening? Where are we going? Why is this happening? And then you get enough feedback and information there, especially because we don't get the script ahead of time. And so that's my cheat, is just asking a few questions. And then, is there a reference for this? Have I done this character before? There's a lot. Usually it depends. If it's a younger character, I'll clear my throat, make sure that I'm clear for it. If it's like I'm playing something rough, then I'm not going to do that. Or I might shout a bunch of street signs as I get there, so I sound like I've been through war or something.
Do you guys do any dietary restrictions? Like, I never do alcohol the day before or morning of. I don't do any dairy.
Morning of, definitely.
Yeah. No dairy. Because you'll
If you're going for that James Coburn sort of, then you might need a little, but.
if you have dairy, you'll hear that, hear that. No cold water, only room temperature, all that stuff.
I try to work out. I try to work out every day, but I'm always like, because while you're working out, you're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth anyway. So the mornings that I work out, I'm in much better mental shape.
Gesundheit.
I'm awake, my body's awake. So I find that days that I don't get a chance to work out, I have to work a little harder.
It's athletic, because you guys stand. Like I always stand.
Oh, I'm a
Never
stander.
ever
I
sit.
can't sit.
Yeah.
I
You cannot sit when I do it.
No, I
Even if it's 4 hours.
No, I stand.
Yeah, we all stand.
It's
I
funny
don't
though.
I love the standards, just saying.
I like you mentioned working out. Like if I lift heavy, I can only do my higher range. It's really weird.
Steroids, right? Testosterone.
Hi guys.
So now that everyone should be warmed up, because you're all doing except for the.
Yeah.
We're gonna try a little experiment here. Ryan has agreed to help cast and even direct a scene or two from Digimon Adventure Tri. We're going to do 2 different scenes. We're going to cast 2 different people. We're going to get an opportunity to audition a couple. And we can proceed. Ryan, how would you like to go about casting your 2 characters, one of them being In scene number 1, we've got Matt.
Correct.
We can start with scene number 1.
You want to start with scene number 1? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I guess first things first, we need to put out some auditions for Matt. So I guess let's pick a couple people and we'll give a couple reads and we'll see who's got what it takes. I see Mario over here.
Now, this is going to be a very specific take on Matt.
Brian, how should we go about this? Do you want to have them come down here? Sure. Or
Yeah, come on down, Mario.
all right. Okay, let's pick a couple of people. Our guy in the blue here looks like he has a good handle on the audio. Let's see. Yeah, I was gonna see. Who do we have at the back? Hey, stand up. I can't quite see you here.
Okay.
How about our man up way in the back there? Black shirt. Come on.
Nice.
Okay, so is there a line from the Digimon?
I was gonna say, in our front page for scene 1, there's a nice chunky little map paragraph. We can go down the line and see where it goes.
Sorry about the internet.
You got it. So guys, normally when people are auditioning, you get a little bit of background on the character. So I think we all kind of know what it's all about.
The edge.
In general, he's a little bit, in this scene in particular, a little bit frustrated with our hero Ty, who is maybe a little bit reluctant to sort of jump back into action here. So I'll tell you what, what's your name?
Brian.
Brian, hey. we got-
Brian.
I was really hoping your name was Matt.
It's me.
All right, so I guess with that in mind, let's have you read this first paragraph. Let's go from sorry the other day to infected Digimon show.
Sure.
And we're rolling. This is take 1.
Okay.
Sorry about the other day. I didn't mean to get so ticked off, but the truth is you need to get your act together. Because it's only a matter of time before more infected Digimon show up.
All right, great. I'll tell you what, give me one more read on that. You're trying to be friendly, but there's a little bit of undercurrent of frustration. This is take 2.
Sorry about the other day. I didn't mean to get so ticked off. But
Sorry about the other
the
day.
truth is you need to get your act together. Because it's only a matter of time before
Together.
more infected Digimon show up.